Tonight's episode of Board Chitless is sponsored by The Game Steward. The Game Steward is an online game store offering Kickstarter board games out of print and imported games at reasonable prices. It's time to play.
Hello there, chitheads, and welcome back to another instalment of Board Chitless. Following a couple of weeks of radio silence, I'm joined by Tristan. A couple of months of radio silence. I'm joined by Tristan today.
Just the two of us, Leki. It's very romantic, this.
It is very romantic. We're opposite sides of the table, lit by candles. We've just enjoyed a delicious meal.
Oh, actually.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Pretty good.
And we've just lost Dave. He's just literally left the building now because he's got to be up early. So he's not going to be able to join in the podcast tonight.
Now he's got adult responsibilities. It's never been the same.
Now he's a grown-up.
This week we've been playing SeaFall.
Okay, so SeaFall is a legacy game by Rob Daviau. And what legacy means is you destroy bits of the game. So this is something I was really sceptical about a long time ago. And Dave was laughing at me, saying, no, it's the next big thing. You've got to get in on Legacy. Legacy's the best thing ever. And I was like, but you destroy bits of the game. How can it be a good thing? But of course, since then, having played through the most of Pandemic Legacy Season 1 and 2, I'm a little bit of a convert. I'm still not 100% convinced that you have to destroy the game at the end of it, but I know there's a huge split of opinion on that. I am interested in the idea of it, of changing a game over the course of a number of plays, but I like the idea of these newer games that are coming out, these green legacy games where you can keep playing them after you've finished kind of thing. So you're sort of working on establishing a world and then you play within that world. But I believe this still registers in the Pandemic Legacy series of games in terms of you chuck it in the bin once you're done with it.
The sort of playability and replayability.
Yeah. It reaches maximum entropy and then must be destroyed. But yeah, so we just played through the prologue tonight, which is literally just an introduction to the game mechanics.
Yes.
So we didn't really see a lot of the game and what it can offer, but we did get a taster. So you're playing as the leaders of provinces, exploring this world by sea, sending ships out into the unknown, finding these islands, raiding and exploring these islands. And it's kind of an action-based game. You take a couple of actions each turn, and once you've got the rules down, it moves fairly quickly. What were your opinions, Leki?
It was quite a short game, like you said. The thing that slows you down the most is inevitably with any game for the first time is the rules and trying to get your head around them, working out which actions go where, which didn't really take that long for us to grasp. You did a really good job at reading the rulebook beforehand and getting your head around it and then, explaining it back to us as we played. So we were done within about under 2 hours, really, which including rules explanations. Pretty good going. We started quite late on in the evening, later than we normally would. Games-wise, I felt it felt like a bit on the light side, but you can see where it's going to build up. Also, it kind of puts itself out there as a prologue, doesn't it? So it already kind of apologises when it begins, as you're not really going to be playing the full experiences.
Definitely.
Ignore these cards. This is where other mechanics slip in, but we're not going to bother you with that now, which I thought was quite nice because it just helps you get started that little bit quicker.
Yeah, and there's a sense of none of what you do in this game is going to matter properly.
Yeah.
So it's like just muck about with the rules for a bit, name a few islands, and then in the next game you'll be fully up and running. In fact, it's probably really premature of us to jump in and start talking about it without actually having played the full first game of it, first official game.
Let's keep it as a very light podcast.
That said, I liked what I saw. I thought it was intriguing. I liked the fact that when you explore a new island, you get to go to the storybook, which is quite not a new thing, but it's starting to turn up in a lot more games these days where they've got a big narrative adventure storybook, like in Above and Below and Near and Far, and even Kingdom Death Monster and games like that, which gives you a chance to sort of jump into the world building, as it were. And I do think it's a nice touch. It's sort of a mix of the choose your own adventure kind of thing, combined with a board game. And it's fairly light on theme. There's sort of a repetitive common theme amongst wherever you go, everybody's just talking about, oh, wouldn't it be great to explore more?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be great to go to the big empty bit of the board where there's nothing yet?
Yeah, the writing is a little bit light in terms of when you read up on your entry for like completing a quest. Or, you just get what the other guy just read, but with like a sentence changed slightly. But again, that could be down to the prologue issue. It's designed to be quite a light theme, so it's just drilling into your head. What should be happening, isn't it? Really, so.
And there's, like you said, there's a lot of tantalising suggestions of the players are currently at peace with each other, and nobody can raid each other yet, or nobody can raid other ships yet.
Yeah.
So it's all sort of peaceable exploring, but you can see how the way that you can upgrade your ships and everything, and given our game group, how nasty this could get, in a few games, sort of thing. I'm thinking Merchants and Marauders here.
Oh, definitely.
With the closest theme. And components, same exact components with the ships as Merchants and Marauders. It had action, exploration, worker placement, raiding, dice rolling, a pretty cool adventure, exploring, narrative theme. So
there's a lot to keep you going.
Ticks a few boxes for me, yeah.
Definitely, and there's quite a heavy emphasis on modding as well, isn't there? Like all the upgrades you can get to your ships or to your home principalities.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the chapters, then another opportunity to kind of bolster those again. So you've got that very sort of reactive knee-jerky, I need to do this in the next few turns, so I'm going to buy an upgrade to achieve it. But then you can kind of set that tactic into stone at the end of a game and kind of fill in one of your sale bars or a trade bar to get extra actions or extra spaces in your hold, which I quite like, really, because it kind of gives you that vindication of if you've started a strategy for a game well, maybe you can try and lock that in for the rest of your campaign.
Carry through on it, sort of
exactly,
thing.
So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the course of the whole legacy.
15 games or whatever
exactly,
it is. Yeah, no, it is. It's intriguing, and I'm definitely at this point looking to play this weekly if we can. If we can get it going and see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited to play more. It's my first legacy experience, and again, one game can't really say much either way.
You got to play some stickers and write some names.
Which was always
what did
nice.
you think of that?
It was interesting. It always feels a bit weird. I mean, naming characters, that's fair enough. You do that quite often. Writing down on the board, it feels like quite a nice little novelty, but coming to throwing cards away at the end of the game, it's going to take some getting used to, I think. I did want to slip them into my wallet and just look after them in case you changed your mind.
Yeah, we didn't quite bring ourselves to killing off the leader cards. Spoiler alert for the end of the prologue.
I'm trying to avoid them spoilers.
But yeah, it was because they're pretty pictures. I don't mind if we're just chucking text cards away. I don't want to destroy pretty components. Overall, very intriguing. I suppose we should comment on the fact that commercially, it's really not done very well. It kind of tanked, and the reason I was able to pick it up, it was £20.
Yeah.
Which is nothing for a game of this size, this complexity, and this number of components. So I do think that's a real shame, because I think perhaps if they thought it was going to do as well as Pandemic Legacy, that's why it was such a huge print run. And I'm not abreast of all of the problems that were involved with the production. But to see just the size and weight of the box alone, to be able to pick that up for 20 quid is kind of, it's a little upsetting, to be honest. It's because it's obviously years of playtesting went into it, building it, and I get the sense that perhaps it was pitched as a more accessible game than maybe it is. Well, it says in the book it's medium to heavy, and probably a lot more difficult to pick up than something like Pandemic or.
Yeah, it seems like a lot more game than the Pandemic base game is, or you've got the other legacy title Risk.
Yeah, it seems like they'd be easier jumping in points for that, whereas this looks more like a gamer's game, and I'm not sure if that contributed to.
Exactly. Well, you've got two big intellectual properties, haven't you? Really, with Risk and Pandemic, they were big games anyway.
Yeah, established games. Yeah,
had legacy to it. And then this is Rob going out by himself. It's a completely new game designed by him from the ground up, so there's no template to start with.
Right.
Obviously, he's got his own theme, his games that he likes that he's following through here. And after playing the introductory game, it's not within itself a bad game. Again, very early to tell how it's going to build up on that. But it is very different, Pandemic and Risk. I'm just wondering if that fan base wouldn't really follow him back to this game, really, and it's almost like starting again, rather than having like this could have been maybe a debut game that could have possibly done well, and then follow on with success with Risk Legacy and Pandemic Legacy, but doing it the other way around. Maybe that's what's kind of caught him out, like through no fault of his own. It's just like, you've got these like huge
victim
titles.
of his own success almost.
Exactly, yeah.
It's uncharted waters. Well, that's a terrible pun. But like when you start the game, you've got nothing. You've got this couple of ships, and you're exploring this huge map, and you can see how big the map is, but there's nothing on it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's exciting. That's the kind of thing I love if I play a video game or something. And you start out and you've got nothing in your back pocket, and it's a whole world to explore. But I could see how some people might play that and think, well, I can see there's loads of game here. Why aren't you giving it to me, sort of thing? Do you know what I mean? It's like there's obviously going to be a lot going on. Why do I have to wait X number of games to start accessing it? Whereas at least with Pandemic Legacy, you've got the entire board in front of you. And yes, it will change as the game goes on, but you're almost playing it like you normally would. Whereas with this, it's very much teasing you with, it's going to get bigger and bolder as time goes on. But in our first game, it did end abruptly, I would say, because we were sort of like, oh, yep, no, we've done all 4 milestones. Let's wrap that sort of up and see what happens. So I don't know how much that's going to change with repeated plays, but maybe that's something that might put some people off, that you're not really getting into the full game straight away. But for me, I thought it's quite a nice sort of easing you into the world type situation.
Definitely. I think of all like tutorial scenarios, I think it's probably one of the best that we've played. Like you said, sets you up for the rules brilliantly. It does end abruptly, but it's designed to do that. Get this out of the way, move on to the actual proper game as soon as possible. All for that. That's not a problem. With the price point and like the commercial problems that it's had, it's an absolute bargain. Like the amount of stuff that comes in the box and the playability you're going to get out of it, even being a legacy game, if you get stuck in the bin at the end, you're still going to get 15 great games out of it. So like the proof and the pudding's going to be in the testing, really, isn't it? We're going to carry on and see how we get on, and we'll come back out with a few more updates as we go on.
Yeah, I guess if we finish it, that'll be that'll be the proof. And if it gets dumped off halfway through, then
we'll definitely see. Now it's not very long until Christmas. So, have you got any games on your wish list coming up?
Loads. So, keeping with the legacy theme, Jamie Stegmaier's Charterstone is arriving soon, which is a legacy village building game, which I'm probably in the unusual position of trying not to research games too heavily before I invest in them, which means sometimes we get quite surprised by them, sometimes not so much. But this one, I know it's for Jamie Stegmaier. I love what he did with Scythe. I know the component quality is going to be top-notch. I like the idea of this green legacy, which is counter to what we were just saying. So you spend the campaign building the villages and everything together, and then at the end of it, you have a fully playable game that's going to be different from everybody else who's playing it. That really appeals to me because, it goes against this whole destroying game components and destroying the trees and whatever else. So yeah, excited about that. Speaking of Stigma, we've got the expansion to Scythe has just arrived, The Wind's Gambit.
Nice.
There's a few others that I'm looking forward to. Civilization, the new Civilization board game by Fantasy Flight.
Nice.
Which is apparently quite a dumbed down version from the original, which has the advantage of it being more playable and probably seeing more table time. But it also means it's probably not as meaty an experience as the old Civilization. Ironically, I wouldn't know. I love the video games, and I rinsed them right up until number 4, I think was the last one I had on my laptop. But the board game I never actually got round to playing. Yeah. So I'm quite excited to give this one a go anyway. It's going to be Fantasy Flight, so it's going to be beautiful, and hopefully it's going to be pretty streamlined and kick-ass.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be no app in 6 months' time to fix it.
Yeah, there'll probably be shed loads of expansions, but yeah, no, that'll be another cool civ building, exploring, world building.
It should be really good because it's like the epitome of a video game based on board game mechanics. So it's back on the table and it's going to work out. It should be pretty cool.
Oh, we got Gloomhaven as well. We could give that a go.
Oh yes, nice.
So
we played
Legacy
a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And we've got Massive Darkness. We've not given that much of a whirl yet. We've had a few games, but to be honest, we've got so many new games have already arrived. We really need to tuck into those first. Yeah. But yeah, there's always something new and shiny on the horizon, isn't there?
Definitely.
Anything that you're looking forward to specifically?
Nothing new. I've got there's a challenge back at home where my family and my wife don't play games that often. So unless I come here, then the meatier games will never see play. So it's trying to find the good party games, really.
Yeah.
So it's probably like any of Vlad's party games. So Codenames went down really well. So I'll be taking Codenames to my wife's mum and dad's house, to play it at Christmas. But so I'll probably look at getting maybe Duet or Codenames pictures or something, just to kind of like bring you something new to the table there. And also Vlad's questions game. I have to grab that one. So anything like that, really, I'm just going to try and pick up.
Right, well, we'll have to try and pick back up with the podcast as well and keep people regularly updated with new content.
Stop teasing everyone and keep our sponsors happy. With it being the run up to Christmas time, there's a few times in the calendar we might not be able to meet up, but we're going to try and get around that however we can. And just keep the good content coming, really. So apologies to all you diehard shitheads out there, but we are going to try and ramp it up again in the new year and just before Christmas. So thanks very much for being patient with us, and thanks very much for listening.
Bye!
Bye-bye!